Welcome to the PC Perspective Mailbag. We are on episode number 36, if you can believe it. 36 episodes. That means 36 some odd weeks, unless somebody skipped something. But we didn't skip this week. No, this is being released on March 23rd, 2018. And are you ready for questions? Because I'm not ready for questions, but I'm going to do my best, because this is like post-podcast. I'm not feeling real chipper. It's late at night. But Jim needs his juice. Who texted me? Who could that be? Would it be Twitter? Yeah, so that, of course, that doesn't matter. Anyway, on to the questions. Metalist Mueller. What is your opinion of companies building integrated batteries into everything? Keyboards, mice, trackpads, remotes. User-replaceable batteries seem to be disappearing from new generations of tech products. Okay, Metalist Mueller. Some things it seems to be perfectly acceptable to do that. Most keyboards that have batteries in them last many years. Probably 4 more years than the writing and lettering on the keys last. Yes, you can get into some areas where someone works in a dark area and it doesn't get the chance to recharge nearly as much as it should, and you have problems. But for things like mice, keyboards, as long as you get some decent batteries in there, it seems to be fine. The problem I find worst of all, and you just heard it, are these damn things. Many of the latest cell phones do not have replaceable batteries, and that is, I think that's horrible. I mean, I've had my LG G3 for 3.5 years now, and I've replaced the battery once, and I was very happy that I was able to do such a thing. And it seems to work fine. And it would be nice, because, I'm not playing games on it. I've got a couple of apps on there that I use. Otherwise, it's phone calls, it's texting, it's Google messaging, and Twitter. And that's it. I don't watch a lot of video. I have watched video on it at certain occasions in the bathroom, as people do. But since my child stole my headphones, I haven't done that lately. But anyway, it works perfectly fine at that kind of stuff. I mean, they've got better processors coming out. They've got better battery technology, but it still lasts 2 days, and it started lasting 1 day, and so I replaced the battery, and it goes back to 2 days of charge. And that's pretty good for a guy like me. Of course, I don't do a whole lot, so I don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, certain things, battery replacements are, it's key. It's almost now a luxury that you can actually change them out. So I don't agree with cell phones. I don't agree with laptops. You can't change batteries. These are things that anymore people will keep beyond 2 to 3 years. And current battery technology with lithium ion, with stuff that can consume that kind of power, you're going to have to replace them. And so, it makes me unhappy that there are fewer and fewer replaceable batteries in products that you use every day. So there you have it. So I'm angry, as you can tell. Lil Anthony, would it be possible for NVIDIA and AMD to disable graphics cards' ability to mine cryptocurrency? They could then charge extra for unlocking that ability, which may help with GPU shortages. The only real way they'd be able to do that would be through drivers, because hardware is hardware. I mean, if you send it a workload that is correct through software, it's going to do that. It's not going to say in the chip, oh, hey, this is mining stuff. We're going to cut off certain things to make it not work. No, it doesn't work that way. I mean, math is math. You're not going to get around that. And so it's going to have to be in drivers where it says, hey, I recognize this is an Ethereum mining program. And so I am not going to support it, and it's going to get an error back when you can do this. But It's not a great idea. I mean, I'm kind of libertarian in many ways. And so if somebody wants to buy the hardware to do a certain job that the hardware works for, they should be able to do it. Now, as much as I'm unhappy with mining in that they have kind of hurt PC gaming tremendously in the past 6 months, it's their right to do that. Things that NVIDIA and AMD could do would be to, and I think NVIDIA is doing this, is they're putting out a card with one of their higher end chips, but they've only got 5 gigs of memory and it's a headless product. And they're going to put it at, or, kind of lower than a product on the graphics side that would be comparable to this. But hopefully they're thinking, we've got these somewhat defective chips. We've got them working again. We've got less memory. We've got less PCB complexity. We've got less pieces on the PCB. So it can't do any kind of digital output or analog output or whatever you want to do. Then that'll work as long as they price it below comparable GPUs that can be used for actual video card work and graphics. And we'll see how that goes. I mean, we don't know if that product will actually materialize, but hopefully that will kind of take up some of the slack. I know that some of the ASICs guys are about ready to release a few new products that will do not Bitcoin, but some of the other cryptocurrencies. And they're hoping that, one, the prices of cryptocurrency has gone down pretty significantly over the past couple of months. And these crypto ASICs guys, I'm still not entirely certain of them. I mean, it seems like they build a lot of these products to do a certain thing. They mine them themselves up until a certain point where mining gets much harder, and then they release these new products out to the marketplace and promise that, hey, you can mine 4 times faster than GPU, 5 times faster, or 10 times, whatever their metrics are. So yeah, it's unless you get on the very bleeding edge of cryptocurrency, I don't know if you're going to really win. So maybe that's just me speaking out the old backside. Vishesh Sharma, do you think there will ever be a general technical solution that will allow games to render at any aspect ratio, 16:10, 21:9, etc., without the developer needing to code support for those resolutions into the game? Older games sometimes require users to mess with game files to add unsupported resolutions, and many games don't work at all. I think that this all goes back to games and engines and their viewport. So if you have in programming a viewport that can be adjusted significantly, not just in between like 4:3, 16:9, whatever, but can handle multiple resolutions anywhere out from 4:3 to 21:9. I've got a surround monitor with a custom resolution because of border. What do you call it? Bezel correction. So many modern games, probably from about 2006 on, from when we first saw surround type and Crossfire and Eyefinity was really the first thing. I think that was 2008, 2009. Stuff from then can handle that just because the programming with kind of the viewport. And so that is the viewport is where the card is said to render. And it's so many pixels by so many pixels, and you've got a field of view, and it's pretty adjustable anymore. So older games are not going to get this because they've got more static type programming involved, and so you're not going to get the kind of flexibility that some of the newer titles will. I don't think there's ever going to be a universal driver that will handle this, but Windows 10, with how it handles desktop and 3D windows done, I think it's doing a little bit better with older games. I mean, I could be wrong, but you're still going to be able to do things. It's not like you're going to take a 1996 Direct 3D game and run it triple wide monitor, because it's just not going to happen. I mean, it was all 4x3 monitors back then, and they didn't expect anything different. So, yeah, you may have 800 by 600 or 1024 by 768, but anything above that or beyond, you're kind of out of luck. It would require a lot of AI work to do something like that, and it's going to have to rely on third-party fixes or the original developer to patch things, to handle stuff, or special editions of games, or, good old games, doing stuff to make it work on modern systems. So, yeah, it's not going to be a universal thing. It's going to be a case-by-case basis, but the newer the application, the better chance you're going to have. Siddharth Rawat. What components of custom graphics card do the AIB partners, ASUS, MSI, etc., make or source? And how does this make the partner cards different from the reference cards? Okay, so the reference cards are designed by NVIDIA, and they meet certain specifications, and they have a kind of laundry list of components that you use on there, and it costs a certain amount, and it's something that you can release. It's not anything special. You may actually be able to design in-house something that is just as good, but will have a cheaper PCB design and components on there. But because this is a turnkey solution that you can put your sticker on and get out fast, that's something that is attractive to these OEMs. But they can then take these parts and get them in-house and say, okay, well, we want to design something that is extra quality. It's like the MSI Lightning stuff. So we need to redesign the PCB. We need to add 30% more power delivery to this through multiple phases. We want to isolate like the memory phases, power phases from the GPU phases, and we want to isolate the PCI Express controller from everything else. And we're going to have an extra phase that's going to power everything else on the damn board. And it's going to cost more to do this. We're going to put heavier duty components on there that can handle more amps, greater capacitance, whatever, better filtering, and it's going to cost a lot more. And that's why we have it as an overclocker's card. We're going to have it as a, nitrogen LN2 card. And these are things that they can do. So they can mix and match and say, okay, well, this is a 125 watt part, and I'm going to get as close to the 125 watt edge that I can to make this as inexpensive as possible. And I'm going to make some shortcuts, and I'm going to do things in design so that I'm not going to give you a whole lot over that, but it's going to be a cheaper device, and it's going to run just as well at stock speeds as the reference design. And they can do that, and they can charge you 30, 40, 50 bucks less per card. So that's, it's the world is their oyster when it comes to design. I mean, they can go either way as far as they want, and they can cut those margins as thin as they want, just as long as it works. You got a 150 watt card, you got to run at 150 watts. If you overclock it, it may do crap, but you paid the very, very lowest price possible for the card. So, there are some guys who are excellent at design, and they can, get every ounce of power out of there. And you can get an inexpensive card that will overclock better than the founder's design or the reference design. But it all depends. It's all design, it's component choice, and it's being really smart with things. Bill Ostrowski, will my Ryzen 1800X be patched for Spectre? AMD stated that Ryzen CPUs aren't affected by Spectre, but then in January said that they would indeed release a patch. But I haven't seen anything since then. Any updates? Not too much. I mean, we have seen some BIOS updates, some firmware updates that have mitigated some of the effects on Spectre Meltdown. We've seen Microsoft release patches on Windows that, again, have done that. So there's not one overarching fix that has been released yet. It's just been kind of small gains each time that the manufacturers and Microsoft has done to help out this Spectre Meltdown situation. Again, AMD is not as affected by it. There's a non-zero chance that they are, but it's very low, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, you're one user in billions. Somebody gonna search you out and get these vulnerabilities? I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that other than, be careful where you go and what you click on. Common sense. Anyhow. Grogerkus Keg. I hope I'm pronouncing that effective. How do you feel about the disclosure windows of recent security flaws, the time between when security researchers discover an issue and when they disclose it to the public? For example, CTS Labs and AMD, less than 24 hours. Spectre, about 6 months. And Facebook, Google, about 90 days. What should be the industry norm and why? Boy, I think it really depends on the severity of the security issue, how quickly you think that it can be fixed, and how scary it is to the computing environment that we currently sit in. Now, the CTS guys, they did not give AMD nearly as much time. I mean, they made a name for themselves, I think, rather negatively with how they handled this. It was a PR push. Somebody in the company leaked the report to the Viceroy Capital dudes who tried to get AMD stock to be shorted horrifically. I think you got to give them at least 30 days of notice. That gives the company time to go over your proof, go over all of the technical details, be able to get some of their engineers on it and say, you know what, we can fix this, or no, this is not fixable. And so at least 30 days will give them time to go back and forth and talk to these people, exchange information, whatever. 90 days is pretty standard. 180 days is a little more than you would expect, but considering the breadth of issues from Spectre Meltdown that it could have, especially on Intel parts who, I mean, they own the majority of x86 CPUs on the market, I think that is fair, because that is a huge issue, and they've given both Microsoft and Intel a lot of time to do, as well as AMD, ARM, whoever does speculative execution on their architectures to kind of fix this issue. So industry norm, I think, should at least be 30 days. 24 hours is nuts. That doesn't give anybody enough time to do any kind of technical work to see if your proof of concept against these vulnerabilities works and what it really affects. For the CTS stuff, I mean, you got to have admin rights to be able to implement these flaws. And, they are flaws in that it's not 100% bulletproof. But if you've got admin rights, you can have a wide range of programs that can really screw up a system. So it's a iffy topic. It's something we're still exploring, and something I think that will mature over the next couple of years. And hopefully the CTS guys, if they're legit, will take this experience to heart and work better with the market than what they currently have, because right now it's more destructive and it seems more financially motivated than really saying, hey, we care about security and we care about users. John STF72 asks, beyond the Wraith Spire, what is the next best cooling solution for Ryzen CPUs? Are air coolers enough, or is it best to go with an all-in-one water cooler? Well, I guess that depends on how much you want to overclock. Now, the Ryzen products are, I believe, 95 to 100 watt TDP. So that's how much heat that they exude under, a certain workload. Whether it's an average workload or it's the worst case scenario, it's what AMD says is up. The better cooling you have, the bigger chance you have of running the processor at a higher speed, even at non-overclocked instances. So an all-in-one cooler that can whisk away the heat far more effectively than just air cooling, you will get better boost clocks throughout a range. There is no perfect solution. There are just better solutions. You've got at the bottom some of the, $10 to $15 coolers. Then you've got like the Wraith Spire, and then you've got some of the higher end tower coolers, and then the all-in-one water coolers. So with the base cooling, you are going to get the guaranteed amount of kind of boost. You've got single core up to 4 point whatever gigahertz, depending on which Ryzen you have. If you've got all cores loaded, you're going to get at least, I think it's like 3.6 for many of those products. So better cooling is always better. There is no best cooling. I guess the best cooling solution would be, a multi-$100 phase change system that cools it down to minus 40 and allows you to just overclock it as much as that's willing to go. But, it's expensive. It's kind of a pain in the butt. You've got condensation issues, even with the amount of insulation they have. So, it's what you're willing to pay for the rewards you're thinking you're going to get. So from $10 to $20, you're going to get a base experience. $25 to $55, you're going to get a better experience. Than that, you may be up in a boost clock for a couple of percent time better than with just the regular. And with all-in-one cooling, you're going to have a greater thermal, not density, but conveyance than what you would have with air cooling. So it depends on what you're willing to pay for those couple extra percentage of performance. There you have it. Jonas R. Intel announced last year they make Thunderbolt 3 royalty-free for this year. Is this still set to happen, and will it spur wider mainstream adoption? I have not heard any news. I probably should have looked this up a little bit more, but Thunderbolt is still not widely adopted other than in the Mac space. There are people who were excited about the potential of a Ryzen laptop having Thunderbolt. Then their hopes were dashed with them hearing that the model of laptop would only support Thunderbolt if it was an Intel-based product. Thunderbolt's nice. USB 3.0, 3.1 is nice. It all depends on the cost to implement it and what Intel is willing to do. For average users, it's just not a big deal because USB 3.1 is still pretty damn fast. And it's an open standard. So I don't think it's going to spur much more widespread adoption. It could, but I'm not terribly hopeful. I mean, what is it? IEEE 1394 FireWire. How popular did that get outside of Mac? 1394B. You saw implementations on motherboards. How many accessories actually utilize that on the PC side? I don't know. Not very many. Sub-Zero, will solid-state drives ever get fast enough to the point that we don't need system memory? No. 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 Not going to get that point. Solid-state drives are still going to have write issues for the next many years. Random access memory is not going to degrade over time like SSD type memory does. Flash, volatile and non-volatile. Well, volatile flash. It's just holding on to that charge is just simple physics. It's going to be design, structure. It's going to wear out. So it's not an issue of speed. I mean, you're going to get high-speed products out there that's going to do 3 to 4 gigs. And when the next PCIe 4.0 comes out, you're going to get higher than that. But memory controllers using RAM are still going to be faster, and they're going to be evolved to be faster over the next however many years we expect to see this. So it's until there is a physical change in non-volatile flash in their wear, we're going to require just regular SDRAM type implementations. DDR, DDR4, DDR5 and 6. That's coming up eventually. So yeah, it's going to be a while before SSDs, and plus not only that, but densities of memory and speed. Your main memory is going to improve upon that versus what is offered by SSDs. And maybe one day we have a perfect technology where it's not going to be SSDs, it's just going to be main memory that's going to have all of that. It's going to be controlled by the CPU's memory controller, and it's just going to be instantaneous, and it's going to have as much memory as somebody wants. Maybe that's going to be something, but it's that convergence is many, many, many years down the line. Sincere Anonymous, you guys covered a lot of steering wheels, but never flight sticks or gamepads. Why is that? Just have not been offered to us yet. I think last year I was offered one of the Thrustmaster HOTAS and joystick combos, and I went with a wheel instead, just because I have more software for that. I would like to eventually get into flight sticks. Gamepads, that might be a good Sebastian thing, because he seems to game more on consoles and utilizing that. But it's something that we will consider in general. Jim, hey, why don't VR manufacturers just use hardware upscalers to take low-res input to super high-res eye displays? Screen door effects could be eliminated with no hits current GPU performance. Maybe this is what Google's plan is with their VR. So the problem here is the optics of the 3D things. They've got lenses in there, right? And it magnifies the screens. So you've got pixels in there, and when they're magnified, it is more apparent that you have delineations in between the pixels, whether it's, the vertical or horizontal and RGB and whatever. And so even though they've gotten pretty dense DPI screens in there, just because of that kind of magnification from the lenses, you're still magnifying that. So it's not like, your monitor screen that's 2.5 feet away. You don't see the delineations. You don't see the screen. It's still there on your regular monitors. You just got to get close enough. And because you've got these things that are so close to you, you've got lenses that then magnify and distort, you get that effect. So how they do that is not so much about drawing pixels. It's getting the pixel the emitting technology to finer and finer pitches, and we still have not gotten there yet. Getting closer, getting better. I mean, Retina displays that Apple did for years, and then some of the really high and displays. 25 by 14 on cell phones is nuts, but you put a monocle up against that and take a look, you'll still see grids from the pixels, even on these high-end cell phones. And that's just physics until we get them to a point where it doesn't look that bad. Who knows? Maybe it's going to get, high DPI and they're going to get them bigger and farther out. So you've got a VR set that's lightweight, but still it's out this long from your face. You can see the issues. But anyway, that's it for this. I went way overboard. I meant to do 20 minutes and now it's damn near 32 minutes. Bad day. Not a great day, but not great. Anyway, that's me. That's Josh Walworth. This is PC Perspective, the mailbag, number 36. You guys have a pleasant day. Thanks.